It's strange, but it looks like I can't leave comments for some reason. You may see comments, but I don't see comments. So I think that's kind of the metaphysical or the Lord telling me don't put up comments. Just record your head. Don't look at comments. Don't expect comments. If they're comments that show up, just ignore them. You know, don't leave comments for anybody. You know, and it's probably the case that there's nobody to talk to, nobody to interact with. And I mean, why do it through technology? You don't know if they're really getting it, and you don't know who's actually replying to it. Can you even verify that it was them that replied to the comment, or that there was even a person there replying to the comment? It might be in the bot or something, you know. So I think that it's really just saying don't even bother putting comments. It's just a waste of time. But I was like up there, and I like there's this band called Sylvanessa I really like, and then I have this tendency to go up and just see if there's still signs of life in them, you know, because I'm afraid that some of my favorite musicians would die, you know, and then I'd feel really bad, and because of that I couldn't like. But you know what the thing is that it's this dream state, this fantasy football. I say fantasy football. I don't even like football, but in fact, as a result of all these concussions and stuff, I think we should stop playing football or just stop playing aggressive sports where people have the possibility of getting concussions and dying, or just going through this slow state of gradually losing control of your muscles and stuff because of the or getting super depressed. You know, that's how Michael Hudgens died, was a concussion to the head. And it wasn't his fault. I guess he ran out in front of a taxi, and the taxi cab driver came out and just slapped him in the head, and that was the beginning of the end. You know, was that this guy just was really good. He just boxed him. He just boxed him in the right way, and it just left him in. It ruined him. Poor man. But anyhow, for the fantasy football of being able to talk to those that you see on YouTube, and as I've said a million times, I don't even know if this is real, or I probably shouldn't even say that anymore because it's kind of pathetic. But the fantasy football of being able to talk to people you see on YouTube, um, to popular bands or things like that. Whenever they can't even deal with the people they got coming at them, what's the chance of them ever getting to you? That something to point out is that God's ever listening and there, even though God is very close, uh, is not quick to respond. It may take some time, and it comes in a different form. That God speaks in different ways than we do. Doesn't speak our language in particular, but speaks to us through unveiling stuff, and that causes you to realize that He did answer you. It's just He answered you in need, in the things that you need, so that you can see that He responded. So that's the thing is that um, is that don't expect a direct answer. You're going to have to wait. You have to be patient and wait, and kind of look around, and just keep in mind what it was that you were talking to him about, and see what the answer is going to be, because it's going to come as a result of kind of either something bizarre happening, or just kind of looking to the past and then seeing that he already answered it even before you even asked the question, or whatever it was you were discussing. The answer was already in the fact, that you probably didn't. And the fact is in the Bible. The frequently asked questions are in the Bible. And so you have to go read in there, and you'll find the response. So God, it's kind of like you could be reading the Bible and you'd find the answer. I'm not going to respond to that. I'm not going to respond directly. You're going to have to go and read through that thing and find it. Or if it's really that big a deal to discuss it, that you expect a response. If you're really intent on knowing what the response is, then you've got this resource over there that's probably going to answer about 10, 20 other questions that you got, or things that you would discuss that are going to satisfy that need to get a direct response. And it's something we can learn from, and that is taking all the rather than asking and inquiring and stuff, there's plenty of resources to pick up the answers from. And even those resources can be wrong. You might have to go to other resources just to be certain of what but even then, how much do you really know? And so then you have to kind of evaluate how much the questions really mean, if they're really that important. You remember that Depeche Mode song, Enjoy the Silence, and words are very unnecessary, they can only do harm. I think Depeche Mode was a good band until they started doing this stuff. You can be your own personal Jesus. I don't think they were addressing Jesus. I think they were taking the agnostic, atheistic, humanistic approach out of that question. I don't think that's really, that doesn't sound like you're respecting or honoring. It's sort of saying you can substitute for Jesus when you really can't, And that's the thing that's really kind of the downside to listening to those 80s groups. I mean, even I would wonder if Depeche Mode's leaders even still think the same thing, and if the Human League guy, certain song that says I believe in I don't believe there is a heaven above. I believe in love, and I'll say I love love action. That's a song, and they just spout out their beliefs. I don't believe in this. I don't believe in that. All I believe is love, and I like your love action. And I'm wondering if they really understand. I mean, is love an emotion? I mean, and Howard Jones asked that question. He says, what is love anyway? Does anyone really love anyone anyway? And then he explains through the song what his identification of love is, and how it's different from how other people might think of love. And that is that to love someone is to be able to let them go and be who they want to be. And it says, is love expecting someone to love you so much that you'll never be hungry, never want stuff or whatever? And he says, the truth is that nobody can love that much. But the thing is that I don't mind you doing just spending time just doubting or something like that. So go into that song and listen to it. I put up a cassette tape. There used to be this I forgot what the name of the site was. It was a kind of a YouTube mashup where you could create cassette tapes out of it was as YouTube playlists. And so you would just suggest you would just bring in all of these, do these searches on YouTube, and bring in all these music videos, and it would create like this cassette, and the music video would appear in the thing in the center of the cassette. I thought it was a really cool idea because it was a great way of me getting what I wanted to, was to show people a bunch of music videos. And it was like cassetta.co. I think it was KASETA.co, or KO. It's Korean or something. And I made a tape, and I called it Howard Jones, our spiritual leader of the '80s, or something like that. And there, people could thumb up your cassettes, and I got a lot of people thumbing that thing up. They really liked that cassette, probably just for the title, because Howard Jones, he's one of those guys that people tend to respect because he doesn't really try to answer the questions. I mean, he answers the questions his way, but in stuff, and expresses his point of view, but he doesn't try to like really answer things in a way that you should go away, thinking that's the answer, that, you just kind of think about it a little bit deeper. She wasn't looking for and he wasn't looking for a 5-minute thrill. He wasn't thinking about tomorrow or next. He was looking for an everlasting love, or then, I've been waiting for so long to come out and sing my song. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by what you hear. Don't crack up. Bend your brain. See both sides. Throw off your mental chains. And that song was about, basically, that is the number one thing the second thing Jesus said when somebody asked what was the most important commandments or suggestions, or the most important instruction. And he said to love God with all your mind, heart, and soul. And you should know what love means there. It's kind of multifaceted, but one of the things is, it's the second thing kind of, it describes that, and that is to do it, to love others as you love yourself. And so, what do you love? And it's kind of asking a question in a sense. It's asking, what do you love? I think. And so, what do you love? They probably like as well. But you might think, love them as you love yourself. So, you might consider what they love, because if you turn the tables, it would be what they loved, that, how you love them as you love yourself. So if you love yourself, you do things good for you, but how do you know what they love? So you have to kind of inquire and ask them, and kind of like compare notes, and eventually, by being able to find out about them and let them tell your story. And Spielberg, they asked him what the most important word was. Listen. And that is actually true, I think, of the Bible, of what God asks us to do is listen. So it's kind of like start up a discussion and then listen to, to the other person's story, because they're just wanting to tell someone their story. They're wanting to tell them how their day is. And so you can just start it and say, isn't it a bright day? And they say, yes, it is. It says, I've really enjoyed this day. And then the other would be, well, today's not been so good a day. And then it starts, and then you just let them say what they have to say. And you take it in if you can't really answer it. And it says, well, thank you for sharing your story. I can't really say much to that, but if you're interested, I can kind of tell you how my day has been, and then they might reciprocate. I don't know. I'm not very good at that stuff because I've got aphasia, and it's made it very difficult for me to interact with people. to really know what to ask. And because there's always that chance that you can ask something that would offend somebody, and then you kind of feel like what it was that offended them, and you go off searching, because maybe it was they never wanted anybody talking to them in the first place. So how do you know? How can you ever know? And that's something to consider if somebody asks you the time of day. Is not to turn them down, because that could really hurt them because they were trying to be nice. I tried to do that with somebody the other day, and they were just like completely, they just took it the wrong way, and they just kept like beating the crap out of me over what they thought I was saying. And I kind of came to the realization that the venue that I had picked to discuss this with them was not a suitable venue for such discussion. And so I thought, and that's something to keep in mind, is if you keep getting scammed over the phone, why should you think that there would ever be anybody, a friend or whatever, calling through there? I mean, if it's a friend, you would know as a friend, but if somebody calls through there expecting to help you, shouldn't that person know that 9 times out of 10, the calls that come through are scams? So why even bother? Um, it's probably a sign that you need to be patient, that there might be somebody come through to help. But with every single scam that comes through the phone, or comes through YouTube, or comes from the internet right now, it dumbs down the chance for anybody to ever use that resource. And I would say the same thing for Facebook. If you got a negative experience with Facebook, the thing is to just stop using Facebook. And I think after all of the, most people don't know this, images, I would think people would stop using Facebook. It's probably the case that they have this need to interact with their friends, but how many of your friends even interact with you? And that was something that the news was saying, is that they found out that all this stuff with Facebook, a lot of what the problem was is they were trying to get people to interact on family, and the algorithm they used would also work with negative stuff that was being advertised in their feed. And they figured, they the idea, I guess, was that it's all good, whether it's bad or good, it's people interacting with our service, and it's going to make us lots of money, which is a very apathetic approach to the problem. So even if they had great intent and you research and you get that stuff out, they're going to have to change the algorithm so that it sticks to their original intent. I would tend to wonder if Facebook's got a vision statement, because the vision statement is what you look at whenever you consider buying into a stock or a company. And what you do is you look at the vision statement, and the vision statement is supposed to tell you kind of what their plans are for the company, what they're planning to do, the business plan, the vision statement. Vision statement's in the business plan. It's like the first thing you see. And if that doesn't gel well with your experience with that product, then you know not to invest in it. That's the solution there. There'll be people that invest into it because they might not be concerned about ethics. They may be concerned about money. The reason why I know about this at all is because I had a friend that kind of took me under his wing, and was making me apprentice to his experience, and because he got an MBA, and he got a law degree, and he had a computer science degree, and so he was kind of rearing me on the potential that I might actually get into business or try to do a startup or something, because we met in the .com era, and he was the CFO and or something like that, and or he was CTO. I think he was CTO. I'm not sure, CFO or CTO, and I was, I think it was CIO, Chairman of Information or something, um, something like that. I don't know if there is a CIO. Maybe it was a CPO or a CBO or a COO, or it might have been CEO. No, CEO. No, I think it was COO. Yeah, whatever. He was basically a lawyer, and he was in this position. I think it was CFO, but um, I'm not going to drop names. But anyhow, took me under his wing and said, you need a business plan, or you start a business. Business plan if you're planning to IPO, or not IPO, but if you're looking for money from an angel investor, you're going to have like your business plan, and then you're going to have a prototype, and the prototype, you've got to patent the prototype, or patent the idea, because they're not going to invest in the idea unless they can guarantee that there's no competition due to you having the patent. So you have to patent your idea, and then once you win the patent, then you can go looking for angel investors, or investors, because they're probably not going to give you any funds unless you've got a very convincing idea, and if you've got a product and it's patented, that or just if you have the potential to create the product, if it sounds feasible what it is that you've patented. In some cases, you might have to get them to sign an NDA before you reveal to them your technology, particularly if hasn't been patented yet, or if it has been patented, but the technology, I guess. See, and now I'm making assumptions, so you got to be very careful with what's going out of my mouth right now. But the non-disclosure agreements, you have to be careful with those. They're basically contracts, and you could sign all away your rights with an NDA. My brother is a lawyer, and he says when you sign a contract, that becomes the law. It's kind of like you basically sign away your rights when you sign into a contract, and if they haul you into court, the judge will point this out to you, that you just signed away your rights, and if you expect to get those rights back, we have to look into this contract and see if it will hold water, But it's very dangerous whenever you sign a contract, because it means that it frees them from liable, and it might convict you of, it might hold you to in slavery to whatever it is that they put in their contract. That's the reason why you need lawyers on either end whenever you sign one of those. And he looked at this, happened once. We were about to get into something, and he looked at the contract, and the NDA contract. He looked at it and says it wouldn't hold up. Don't sign this, because basically what they're doing is they're trying to eliminate all the competition by saying that they can't compete with a technology that we do not know what it is. And it possibly could be that there is no technology, but the technology is like a website. And so basically the thing that they're protecting is your ability to be a web developer. So what they're essentially doing is putting everybody under contract to get out of their space, so that they can. It's a clever approach, but it's mean. And he said it wouldn't hold up in a court of law, but don't sign it. And so I didn't, and I just said, this NDA, and he said to them, this NDA does this, this, and this. We can foresee that, and they're like, no, you don't have to. I said, no, you have to get your contract fixed, because this is not a fair contract. And so we left. in these days, if that had happened, somebody would probably throw it up on the internet, and whoever those guys were, they probably would, somebody would have them up in some database, look up in that database anytime they try to do something. So be careful what you do with things like that, to, because if they can identify you, then you pretty much, your name is moot, your name is mud everywhere. So you got to be careful, and you got to be careful signing into one of those. So I'm going to cut it here, actually.